Hello there, and welcome to yet another episode on the Meraklis Being series. I'm your host and self awareness coach, Shweta Shivraman. Today, we've curated wisdom from some phenomenal women who I believe truly epitomize the spirit of Meraklis in its truest essence. And the thought behind this episode really was that when I shifted into the 30s from the 20s, there are certain things that I realized that only I could attribute those learnings to time, the passing of time. For example, I used to be very impatient, always in a hurry, always in a chase, thinking that I did not have enough time. And suddenly I realized over a period of time, gradually, I simply let go of it because it was no longer a part of me. Time had taught me that it's not a race and it was all in my head. And so there are so many things that I know that only time can teach us. So I thought, why not reach out to women in their 40s and their 50s and really ask them for their wisdom on what does it take to thrive in the 30s. And that is exactly what we are going to do today. You are going to hear from phenomenal women on lessons from their lived life experiences. I am excited for this one and I'm sure it's going to be insight packed. So stop whatever you're doing and tune in to give it your full attention and truly take away whatever resonates with you. Are you ready to get started? Let's jump in. So, the first question that I asked these women was, what are three things they wish they knew in their 30s? Let's listen to them.
So, the first one I wish I had known was that it's okay to say no and to set boundaries. It's so common for women to sort of be people pleasers and say yes, and to, so that you avoid offending the other person who asks you of something. And I wish I had known that it's absolutely fine to say that this is all that I can do, and I don't have time for whatever it is that you want me to do, because this is how it is. So I wish I'd known that. The second thing is that I wish I had known that I don't have to feel bad about getting bored of a passion. For example, if there was something I was very much into, like be it crocheting or knitting or, something of the sort, picking up a passion, finding a lot of joy from it, and then realizing later on that other priorities have come in and the pursuit of this just doesn't give me as much joy anymore. I wish I had known that it was okay to keep it aside without being guilty about it. I know that's a weird one. And then the third one is that I wish I'd known that hurrying and hustling to get somewhere is not the only way to get to a destination. It's absolutely okay to take pauses. It's absolutely okay to find stillness. And yeah, and this is something that I am carrying forward with me right now. It's okay to take a break.
Hi, I'm Sai, and I'm a leadership coach as well as a psychologist and a psychotherapist. And all my work is in the intersection of psychology, self mastery, and leadership. Three things that I wish I knew in my 30s was the value of building relationships and networks, especially work related networks. Number two would be the capacity to make really big, audacious requests, whether it is at home or whether it is at work, and to be able to do it with no fear and no hesitation. And number three would be to invest in a good coach and a mentor who would be the wind beneath my wings for the many things that I wanted to develop in my professional life.
Radhe Krishna friends. I am Ruchi, founder HEN, Her Entrepreneurial Network, a platform to bring women entrepreneurs together to inspire, inform, and support each other build successful businesses along with balanced lives. One is importance of people in business, because business is made by people, and EQ, relationship building. So if you are running a business or you want to run a business, make sure you understand that people in the business is the business, be it customer, be it team, be it vendor. Number two, if I would have known power of asking. Sometimes, we just don't ask our questions. We think, are we the only one in this space? Will somebody understand? Is there the right person? In all this, what we do is we are just not sharing with people sometimes what's going on in our mind, our questions, our hesitations. Just share with whoever is in front of you, because you don't know how that one question can generate right connections or solutions for you. So power of asking, be it asking for a lead, be it asking for a support, be it asking for knowledge, anything in business. And third, importance of time. Every business has a time to invest. And sometimes, when we bootstrap, we think, okay, when money will come, I will invest. But as a business person, it is just so important for us to, uh, to be aware of the right time of investment. Postponing that investment at that time is equivalent to postponing the success of business, and with time changes opportunity. So importance of time in business at large.
Hi, my name is Vidhi Jacob. I am 46 years old and I'm an artist based in Bangalore. The three things that I wish I knew in my 30s would be mm, you are not what you own or possess, you are not what people think of you or think you should be, and you are definitely not just your accomplishments but much more than that.
Hi, my name is Pritha Dubey. I am a sales coach and a sales consultant. I have more than 2 decades of experience. A little bit about me, I am an introvert who made it in sales and was quite successful in her career. And now, as a sales coach and a sales consultant, I help people become fearless, get over their self limiting beliefs or any kind of limitations that hold them back, and become successful in life. My 30s were pretty exciting because I was in the corporate world at that point of time, and I was in the sales of in a bank, so in doing selling in a bank, and it was quite aggressive and quite demanding, and I had my own shares of ups and downs, lows and highs. And of course, everything in my past had a role to play to where I reached. But if I have to talk about three things that I wish I knew in my 30s, or I wish I had focused on, or given priority, or understood. Number one is I wish I knew or I realized the importance of proper planning and how much a proper planning makes the success path easier. It becomes very easy when we have everything planned out. Now, everything that we plan, are they going to work as per the plan? No, it doesn't. But to 70 or 80%, it kind of stays on the course, and we stay on the course if we have planned and we are not randomly just sleepwalking through life. Another thing that I would suggest, or I wish I did, was becoming a subject matter expert. It kind of helps create that kind of an authority, and it helps influence others around you. If you can become an expert in certain subject, people love to talk to those people who knows or who have a lot of knowledge. Suddenly the amount of respect, trust and credibility increases when people are talking to someone who has a lot of knowledge. So about and around your subject, if you can have a lot of knowledge, if you can read a lot, understand from mentors or research a lot, it kind of helps. It helps in charging a premium. And another thing that I believe for a woman in their 30s, it is important to understand is becoming self aware. I at that point of time in my 30s, I was a lot more, if I was a lot more self aware, aware of my own abilities, my own limitations, acknowledging those limitations, understanding that which of those limitations I can work on and get better at, and how can I leverage my strengths, how can I overcome or work on my weaknesses, and how can I get better. Being self aware led me to a lot of other aspects. It opened up my mind, it opened up newer perspectives in life, and it allowed me to look at a lot of lows in life with a positive perspective. And to an extent that today, whenever there is a low in life, any moment of disappointment, upset, negative emotion, I am able to look at it with a very positive perspective. Now, what changed the perspective for me right now?
Hi, my name is Rashmi Shetty. I'm 54. I was married by the time I was 25 and a mother twice over by the time I was 29. 30s, I realize now, looking back, were magical for me. I was learning a lot about motherhood, but also learning what to do with myself. I took a conscious break when I had my first kid. I realize now that 30s can be magical. Three very important things that I learned in my 30s were karma is real. Honestly, everything, every act that you do needs to be consciously done because there is a way life gives back. So don't always think about yourself. See what you can do to make a difference to the world around you. The way life throws back opportunities at you is something that you cannot even conceive. Second, life is full of surprises. Everything that happened to me, as far as my career went, happened magically post the 30s. Because once kids come into your life, your priorities change, they become the center of your universe, and every plan for you is something where you keep them as the prime reasons and around whom your life revolves. And 30s is the time when your children are growing and need your presence more than they need it much later. The way life opened opportunities, I realized was that all you needed to say is what you do not want. The rest just falls in place. So, clarity in your no really helps. And the important lesson that I got in my 30s was never underestimate yourself. Like I said, my journey, I was an RJ for 10 years of my life, and my journey as an RJ began because I was looking for something flexible with my children small. And this career just fit in so perfectly because All India Radio was looking for part time radio jocks for their FM channel. And the way things just fell in place, I just made the cutoff as far as age was concerned. And that was my only chance. And the way things just fell in place, and I got the magical 10 years from 34 to 44 to be as an RJ was something that I will never forget. Never, ever in my life did I think that the cool career of being an RJ is possible. And mine started at 34. It's so important for us women, especially, to remember that 30s somewhere becomes the magical age where you rediscover yourself and go further in whatever you plan to do. So make sure you live every moment, you try everything so there are no regrets later in life. And trust me, we only regret those opportunities we don't take. So make sure you pick every opportunity life throws at you and try everything. And 30s is that magical age.
Hi, my name is Subhalakshmi Narasimhan. I'm an executive leadership coach. I closely work with C, D, E suite professionals, corporate leaders, and coach them to manage their workplace conflicts and emotions. Emotions rule our world, isn't it? So I help them in managing their inner conflicts so that they become resilient to manage this bonny world that we are in. Thank you. So, three things I wish I knew in my 30s. I really, really wish that I knew how courageous I was. I was not aware at that point in time. And then the second thing, I could take help. Whenever needed, I could have taken help. Then the third, the impact our emotions can create on our health, physical health. I really wish I knew these three things.
Hi, I am Neeraja Ganesh. After spending 25 years in technology, I decided to follow my passion, which is to help women aspire in their life and careers and eventually reach their aspirations. So, I do a lot of mentoring and coaching. I run a lot of leadership development programs. I deliver a lot of talks. I write a lot. And as I say, my purpose in life is to ensure that there is a positive mindset shift with every interaction that I have with another person. Oh boy, I wish when I was 30 I knew the power of networks. Um, and I really wish I knew that no one is ever going to talk about me and my achievements. Rather, that it is very important for me to build my own personal brand. And I so wish I knew that learning was forever. There was never going to be a pause. There was never going to be a day that you do not learn something new.
Hi, my name is Vibha Chokhani. I'm a life coach, a leadership facilitator, and a counselor. I want to share three things that I wish I knew in my 30s. The first that comes to mind is I wish I knew how important it was to take care of my body, especially from a reproductive and menstrual health standpoint. How important it is to see a gynec, even if I'm not planning to start a family, or if I'm not planning to be on birth control pills, but just to see a gynec for a routine examination, for checking if my experience of my menstruation is normal. It's is there any vitamin deficiencies, iron deficiencies, just to see a gynec. I wish I knew that, because the body definitely goes through a lot of changes in the 30s, and keeping up with that, especially from menstrual health standpoint, was very important, which I only learned later in hindsight. The second thing I wish I knew in my 30s was just how important a role my friendships will play in my life, and where they'll start to matter a whole lot more than my family relationships. So, investing in friendships, paying attention to how I'm showing up in those relationships, in those spaces, and really being very intentional about the sort of people I want to surround myself with. It is said that we are a sum of the five people that we spend the most amount of time with. So, from that standpoint, really paying attention to friendships and how they're changing and how I'm changing in them and how I'd like to change or grow, what I'd like to grow towards. So, what kind of friends do I want to have in my life? The third thing that I wish I knew in my 30s was how important it would be to build a systematic investment plan. Whether it is something as small as starting with investing a small amount of money every month and having the money work for me and grow on its own is is something I wish I knew, because it's really important to build wealth or to build any amount of stability, financial stability in life, is to start investing early. The importance of compound interest. I wish I knew that in my 30s and had really taken action towards it much earlier than I did. I hope that's useful.
Hi, my name is Smriti Makur and my pronouns are she and her. I'm a psychologist with specialization in clinical and a practicing psychotherapist, having been trained in CBT, REBT, narrative therapy, and also a co-affirmative therapist. I have about 15 years of experience. I'm also co-founder to Equilibrium Advisory LLP, where we provide legal remedies and psychological interventions to build safe and equitable workspaces through our 4 brands: Posh Equally, Child Safety at Work, Inclusion at Work, and Mental Health at Work. Happy International Women's Day. This wish goes out to each person who identifies as a woman, including cis women and trans women. Meraklis reached out to different women asking this question, things that you wish you knew. As a cishet person today, I reflect on this question and would like to present my views to you. First thing, career is long term. And let's break that down. Long. L. Listen to that knock on the door. Take chances. One thing that I have learned in my life is that things may not happen the way you plan it. There is always that feeble knock that will open the door to the opportunity. Opportunity to rediscover yourself, challenge yourself, add to your skill set. It may not be a loud doorbell, but a slight knock, which will tell you that this is something where you could perhaps move forward with. So L, listen to that knock, that feeble knock. O, overcoming your internal biases, challenging the affinity bias specifically. As humans, we gravitate towards what we know, what is familiar. And we then tend to form those cliques, tend to do the same thing day in and day out. Feeling anxiety when it comes to something unfamiliar, unknown. But today, to be relevant, what the organization is looking at for diverse experience, diverse skill set. It's not the vintage, the tenure that matters, but what can you bring to the table? Which also means the other way we can navigate through those biases is by having that belief in ourselves and sitting at the table. As a psychologist, I often work a lot with leaders, conduct sessions, and I would find men sitting at the table and women sitting around. And I had to invite them into that conversation. So sitting at the table and overcoming those internalized biases. N, no. Learning to say no. No to things that drain you. No to things that do not add value to your life, to your day. No to toxic people. No to patriarchy. G, get mentors, get buddies. And when I say get, it means that being an active person in that process. Do not wait for organizations to assign your mentor, to assign your buddy. Reach out. Actively get out and ask people to mentor you. Mentors who are men and women. They'll have very different perspectives to how do we approach our career. What does work-life balance really mean? How do we really get visible in those organizations? How do we get that opportunity? How do we really climb up in the career ladder? And they can be very constructive conversations. So 1, career is long-term. L, listen to the knock at the door. O, overcoming internalized biases, challenging ourselves to be in unfamiliar territories. N, no. No to toxicity. No to people that drain you. G, get mentors. Second, labels don't define you. People will have a lot to say. A lot of opinions will be shared about the person that you are, mother you are, daughter you are, employee that you are, or manager you are. Remember, these are opinions, not facts. So they do not define you. Do not let people tell you how to live your life, the choices you need to make, the fact that whether you're ready for the position of a manager or not, to still have your own startup or no, when to have children, whether to change locations, to have long distance marriage, to be single, to be in a living relationship. Decisions have to be yours. Decisions that are aligned with your values, with your guiding principles of life, that brings you peace and relief, and more in sync with your real self and ideal self. So, second, labels don't define you. Third, putting self before others. In our culture, it's applauded when you are putting others before you, taking care of other people, serving them food before you do, going to bed very late, winding up everything at home. But what does that really leave us? Feeling drained, tired, frustrated, experiencing anger outburst, losing self confidence, losing that connect with ourselves. Self is the foundation for all the roles that we play. Role as a employee, role as a manager, role as a daughter, role as a sister, role as a wife, role as a mother. And if we do not have the foundation in place, all of these roles are going to crumble down. So putting self before others.
Hi, I'm Bharti. The three things I wish I knew in my 30s are number one, that we all move at our own pace, that I can have values that are different from what I grew up with, and that happiness is a choice.
Three things I knew when I was in my 30s. Okay, that's a very interesting question. Uh, I'm going to say the first thing is I wish I knew that taking care of my mental and physical health is equally important. And I wish I also knew that energy levels are so high that I'm constantly going to overwork and undersleep, which is not a good thing for me. So that's one of the most important thing I wish I knew when I was 30s. The second one I would say is I wish I knew that 30s is not the end, but just the beginning of life. I know that when you turn from 29 to 30, it's like such a watershed moment in your life. But I'm going to tell you, and I've read this quote somewhere in a book that I was reading last week, and it said, everything I know, I learned after I turned 30. And it's so true for my life because I feel 30s is just the beginning of life, your dreams, your goals, and it's definitely not a defining number. I dislike conversations where people say that, okay, 30 is the yardstick, you should be married by 30, you should have a child by 30. I think it's just another phase in life. I mean, there's so much to travel, so much to read, so much to learn. And obviously, it's also okay to make mistakes. So that's the other thing I wish I knew in my 30s. The third thing, and the most important thing, what I wish I knew early in my 30s was that I need to not just earn, but I need to start investing and taking control of my money and my finance wisely. And the reason why I say that is because if you start early, you have the freedom to make choices when you grow up. So, those are the three invaluable things that I wish I knew when I was in my 30s.
Thank you for having me on the Being Miraculous podcast. And thank you for the wonderful prompts. They really made me think and, cull out wonderful insights for myself. So here goes the first one. What are three things I wish I knew in my 30s? I think the number one is I wish I knew the importance of self care in my 30s, the importance of having a routine that really nurtures, takes care. I think in my 30s, it felt like, setting aside time, which I could, always do later. But I think looking back, I feel that time invested in well-being gives gives such wonderful returns later on. I wish I had started earlier, be it physical exercise, time devoted to emotional and mental well-being. um, so I think that's definitely a big one. Second one is the importance of cultivating a nice support system for oneself, a set of friends, family members, um, who you can go to when you need support. And equally important is a set of people who you can support, who you can be there for. I think that's, cultivating these relationships that are devoted to cultivating a sense of community, so to speak, right? No matter how small, how tight knit, or how large, whatever aligns with one's disposition. I think is so important, and it really makes the journey so much more fun, so much more enriching, um, and I think so much easier in tough times. And so the sooner one begins, the better it is. The third thing I wish I knew was the importance of boundaries. Whether it's close relationships, whether it's formal relationships, whatever the nature of relationships may be, but knowing what one's boundaries are, I think is key to building a healthy relationship with oneself as well as others. Um, I think contrary to what we may initially think about boundaries, that it's separation. I think it's actually creating space for relationships.
Wasn't that power packed? The next question that we asked them was, what are two resources? It could be books, movies, podcasts, or anything that truly help them shift their perspective in life. It's never too late to pick them up. Let's dive in.
Now, this was a really, really hard thing to ask because, as a writer and as someone who loves movies and loves and who's very open to new ideas, I really turn to a lot of writers and creators at different seasons, looking for different sorts of inspiration. So, I'm going to try and keep this very current. A book which inspired me very recently is this book called Bird by Bird. It's written by a writer called Anne Lamont, and it's not really a book which talks to you about how to write, but it's a book which inspires you to write your story and to find your joy in the writing of it, no matter who ultimately reads it or not. So it's a very nice book, especially if you're feeling stuck as a writer. So that is definitely a resource for me. The second one is a movie that I very recently saw. It's a Japanese movie by filmmaker Wim Wenders. It's called Perfect Days. It's a quiet, contemplative movie, and it's all about the joy of small everyday things and about finding what you like to do and doing it to the best of your abilities. It was a very nice meditative sort of experience, and I do believe that I will be going back to that movie again and again just for the joy that it gave me, and I highly recommend it for all.
The two books that have been more, recently very, very inspiring for me has been Playing Big by Tara Moore. I love the way she builds body, mind, and spirit into the leadership journey. Number two would be Daring Greatly, Brené Brown. And I really love the language that it provides and the different ways of understanding vulnerability and courage.
Two resources that shape my thoughts, or books rather that shape my thoughts as a leader. One is Power of Thinking Big, Magic of Thinking Big. I read this in my teens, and I think it helped me, just think beyond my own limitations, allow yourself to think big, basically. Another good book that I really, really, would suggest you to read is a book called The Giver. Very thin book, very easy read, but we sometimes are not the best receivers. So this book helps us understand, to be a good giver we need to be a good receiver, and hence it's an amazing book.
A few books in my 30s that really shifted my perspective on life and love and business and work in general. Two of my favorites would be Ray Dalio's Principles, which is a book that I still go back to for to make a lot of decisions and to help me kind of center myself back to, where I want to be and how I want to be and who I want to be. And the other one that really kind of made an impact for me was Women Who Run with Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And right now, over the last few years, I'm gobbling up information and knowledge through podcasts and books. And some of my favorite podcasts are on neuroscience. So there's one that I listen to. It's called The Huberman Lab by Andrew Huberman. I listen to Jay Shetty. And then I have Ray Dalio, of course. I listen to all his works. And then there's Dr. Gabor Mate, who is a psychologist, and he's amazing with perspectives on life and how to live and things like that. And then I have another called The Impact Theory by Tom Bilyeu, which really helps me with a lot of work-related stuff, productivity, pushing myself, not pushing myself, that kind of stuff. And another really good one is by Dr. Ramani. It's called Navigating Narcissism. So that is another one that's really helped me as well.
And two resources that I can highlight is, number one, books. I read a lot of books, and I think reading was one change that I brought into my life. I was not into reading, but when I got into reading, I'm not a fiction reader, but when I got into reading changed a lot of my perspective. And so I think reading is like how you water your plants. Reading is watering your brain, it sharpens it. And the other aspect that helped change my perspective is the use of social media. Social media suddenly became more than just being social. Social media became an educational hub, whether it was through the WhatsApp communities or whether it is through the Instagram reels and videos, or Facebook articles, or LinkedIn articles, or YouTube videos that I have started to look at. I think with social media, we started getting access to TED Talks and many other such interesting talks and speeches, which helped change the perspective.
Two things that really inspired me. One was the book The Alchemist. It came at a time, again, I think somewhere in my late 20s. And it was a handout to me from the guy who was selling the books on the roadside, seeing the kind of books I was picking up. He gave this book to me and said, "Ma'am, you'll like it." And I just picked it and I started reading, and I can't thank him enough. I don't even know him by face now, but The Alchemist came into my life when I needed it most. It's a book that speaks to you at whichever point of life you are, and it sends one strong message across, that the treasure you're seeking outside is well inside you. So go inward. And for me, that was a very powerful message that The Alchemist. I, in fact, have forgotten how many people have gifted the book, because I feel that book is magical in the way it just shifts the way you look at life. And the movie that changed me completely is Life is Beautiful. It's an amazing film that talks a lot about enjoying every moment, but more than anything, also the parenting challenge of being able to smile in the midst of challenges, so your children don't get a bit of the tension that you're going through. An Italian movie with English subtitles. It was not a surprise it went on to win the Oscar, both for the director who was leading the film as well, but an amazing concept of how to look at life. These two continue to remain my all time favorite, The Alchemist as the book and life is beautiful as a whole.
There is this book, How to Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. That book changed my thought process, helped me understand how emotions impact our physical health. Because the minute I read that book, I started looking at myself, my emotions, how I lead my life through the emotions which are dominating me at that point in time, how it was resulting in certain way of my bodily reactions to certain emotions, right? So all these revelations in fact helped me in supporting my physical health first of all, and of course by strengthening my emotional and mental health. That has been a great game changer in my life. And there is another book which helped me in making me really really courageous, is Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, right? So her life story, the way that she was scared of while bringing herself out to the world, how she managed everything, right? Then her recommendations on how to deal with vulnerability, how to leverage vulnerability, that indeed changed my outlook towards the world that I live in. Thank you.
I'm so glad I came across these two powerful women, one by the name of Sheryl Sandberg and the other Apurva Purohit. I came across all the talks that Sheryl Sandberg did, which eventually went into a book called Lean In, which then brought about the umpteen Lean In circles, and I'm also part of so many of them. The other resource which I not only use for myself but heavily advocate for every woman out there is Apurva Purohit's books. The first one by the name of Lady, You're Not a Man, and the second one, which I was so very impressed with, is called Lady, You Are the Boss.
So I want to share two resources that have been useful for me. One is a book called The Courage to Be Disliked. It's written by two Japanese authors, and it came to me at a time in my life where I was stopping short from taking a big leap in my life, and some of the concepts in that book were really useful for me. Till date, they prove useful. So I highly recommend The Courage to Be Disliked. Another book that changed my perspective is called The Crossroads of Should and Must. And it's a very cute book, very visually very appealing, and it's written by an artist talking about how we talk to ourselves and what are the shoulds, the things in our life that we actually get from the outside, versus the musts, things that we self-direct or that come from the inside. And it's a voice of intuition. It's a voice of your own ideas, your own beliefs about yourself versus the externally received messages, which are typically the shoulds. So I really want to share those two books with all of you because they've been pivotal in providing me practical ways to change some things about my life.
Resources that shifted my perspective in life. I think one book I strongly recommend would be Lean In, that influenced me in my personal journey. Where what I took away from the book was the fact that when I am going through my journey of life, of becoming a mother, being a working woman, I need to have my reasons to be able to put myself out there in those multiple roles that I'll be juggling with. And that can only happen if I'm pursuing something that I truly believe in and I'm passionate about. I can't show up for places where I do not feel for. And I think changing my career right while I was at the cusp of becoming a mother was something that I took away from that book. But please note, each book would have its own takeaways for people based where they are at in their own journey. Second, I think as a human, let alone a woman, we experience a lot of emotions. Emotions that may not even have the word that we can describe very aptly. Let alone how do we know how to navigate those emotions. As a psychologist, I do listen to podcasts from American Psychology Association, and I find them very thought provoking. It also deconstructs different emotions, brings in perspective from different thought leaders. And that has been very pivotal in my journey of learning to navigate different emotions as an individual, as a woman, and as a therapist.
Two resources that have shifted my perspective. These are two that I have accessed very recently. One is a book by Gary Zukov. It is called Soul Stories. And he talks about the importance of partners growing together spiritually. I thought that was very pertinent in this day and age when all of us are doing so many things. And it is so important that whether it's your business partner or your life partner, you are all on the same page. The other resource is a podcast I have been listening to almost for the last 1 year by a Buddhist monk. The name of the monk is Nick Kyoma Hawong, and he speaks on the wisdom and life in the Buddhist monastery in Thailand. It is from this series of podcasts that I have got the validation that it is okay to be kind and not necessarily rushed all the time in our rather rushed and selfish world.
Hi, it's interesting you asked me about the two resources that have shifted my perspective. I mean, it's difficult to say just two because there's so many books, so many podcasts, so many movies. But uppermost on my mind are two books, which have also been, I think, made into movies. The first is Michelle Obama's Becoming. I think that was a very defining book for my life, and I love that page where they talk about, what will you be when you grow up? And then Michelle writes that, as though growing up is a finite situation. It never is, because as humans, we constantly evolve. It's a personal growth, it's a personal journey. And I love this concept that you don't have to be always what you are today. You can constantly evolve yourself and become something else. So that gives you the power, which also tells you that age is no number because you can become anything at any time with the power of your mind. Of course, something realistic. I mean, if I'm 90 years old, I cannot say I'm going to climb Mount Everest. But yes, it talks about the concept of constantly evolving. The second book that I love is Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life. The book is written by Hector Garcia and Meraklis. I'm not sure how we pronounce this name, but I love the concept that this book draws on the experiences of people living in Okinawa who are known for their longevity, and they offer insights into finding purpose and fulfillment in life. So, what I liked best about this book is it speaks about how to find not just a purpose and meaning in your life, but it also talks about how do you find a balance in your life, how do you find what is your passion, what really is your mission. And the most beautiful thing is it teaches us to live in the present. It also talks about how do you connect with others, how do you continuously learn and grow. So I love all these concepts that the book spoke about. But on on top of everything, of course, is the concept of living in the present and living a life of purpose. So these two books are definitely the defining books of my life.
Two resources that have helped change my perspective. I think the first one has to be the 5-minute journal format. Started it somewhere towards my late 30s. I wish I had found it in my early 30s. So it's, as the name indicates, it's a journaling format which takes only 5 minutes. It's designed for reflection twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. Very simple prompts. It begins with gratitude, a reflection on what would make the day awesome, affirmations, and then once again in the evening, a reflection on what made the day awesome, and were there any learnings. So I think it's just doing this day on day deepened my self-awareness, and on days that really seemed tough, just reflecting on what made the day awesome gave me perspective that, oh, actually the day wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Or later on, that awareness really transformed to knowing that no day is, you know, um, fully good or fully bad. It's a mix. It's a mix, and I think with time one learns to appreciate the importance of everything that one experiences. The second resource is a TED Talk. It's called How the Story Transforms the Teller by Donald Davis. And it's a wonderful TED Talk which makes one reflect on how our narrative of our own story, our own life experience, has the potential to create a transformative experience. And I think it was just one more step in my journey of understanding the power of stories and how we tell our own stories. Do check out the TED Talk.
I hope you got your pens and papers out to note down all of those amazing, invaluable resources. And now we go on to our last prompt for today, which is one tip for women to thrive in their 30s. I'm really curious to hear more about this.
The one tip that I would have for women in their 30s is to not accept the status quo if it doesn't work for you. For example, you're in your 30s and you will find a lot of people who will tell you that, oh, this is what you should have achieved by now. This is the path you should be going on. This is how things have always been. My point is that just because things have always been done a specific way for years and years, it doesn't mean it is the right way of doing things. And you do not have to accept it. You need to find the right way of doing things for yourself so that you can get to where you want to go. So that is my tip for women in their 30s to thrive. Once again, thank you for having me on the podcast and asking me these questions. It was nice to sit down and introspect about it. I wish everyone watching a very happy Women's Day.
The one tip that I would love to leave your listener would be to invest in all kinds of personal growth processes that build your voice and your articulation. Because I think your voice and the way you articulate and communicate is how you make your presence felt, both in the world overall, but also in your team and your organizations. Wishing all of you a wonderful, wonderful, joyful, strength-giving and courageous Women's Day.
And, one tip I would just want to give, rather tip one belief that I live every day for myself is believe in yourself. If we believe in ourselves, the world will. So with that, guys, have a great day. Wish you all the best. May you live all your dreams.
My one tip to women in their 30s, since I have come into my next decade, but I wish I thought about more when I was in my 30s, would be, how do I feel about myself when I am by myself? Working on that, working on my values, working on my thoughts, the thoughts that go through my mind when I'm alone, and kind of finding a space within myself that's happy on my own without needing validation from other people, which I did a lot. I wanted validation, but I think that as I got older, I realized that the validation has to come from myself. So yeah, I think that would be my tip. And your body is changing, your mind is changing in your 30s towards your late 30s. So I would say embrace change and do not be afraid of it, because I feel like change is the only constant. And once you embrace it and say, okay, I'm going to go with change, I feel like life takes its beautiful turns. So yes, that would be my one tip.
So, one tip, if I have to leave you, all the women in their 30s, is believe in yourself. Don't bother about what the world is telling you, and don't be into this thing of trying to appease the world around you. First, appease yourself. First, love yourself. First, be happy with whom you are seeing in the mirror. Good, bad, ugly, accept it. Accept yourself the way you are. Believe in yourself. Trust yourself. Have faith in yourself. Because when you love yourself, you will be able to love everyone around you. So, that is one tip that I would do. I would leave you with. Happy Women's Day.
One tip for women in their 30s is 30s is the time you find yourself. So just go ahead and put yourself out there in the world, because failures are never failures. They're only moments where you learn. You learn nothing in success. But failures are, or things that don't happen as per your plan, which we call failures, is something that is required for us to understand what we enjoy doing, what we don't, what we should do, what we shouldn't, and why we do what we do later in life. It's a time when a lot of unknown comes into our life. Just hold life by the saddle, sit on it, and take control. But try everything, because I think 30s never come back like every other year. But 30s is also where you connect to yourself deeply. So make sure you try everything possible in your 30s. All the very best to all of you. Thank you, Shweta, for this opportunity, and all the best on your podcast.
My message to women in 30s: seek help. Seeking help is an art. Learn the science behind seeking help. The art will automatically happen. Yeah. Don't be, don't shy away. Don't think that, okay, you can solve everything. Yeah. I am a superwoman. I can multitask. Even though I have only two hands, but I will, create 100 different hands and then I will take care of everything. No, you need not be a superwoman. Yeah. Just be a human being. Respect that human being who is there, that child within you. Yeah, respect that. Don't be hard on yourself. It's not worth it. Being hard on ourselves is not worth it. So, how can we come out of it? By seeking help, by taking help in whatever form that you would like to take. Yeah, take help from the right resource. All the very best.
So, one tip for women to thrive in their 30s, the 30s are rife with a lot of changes, a lot of transitions, some really big ones we make in our 30s. I believe that that decade is more rife and characterized by transitions than any other decade in our life, maybe the 20s. So, one tip from me is to really document this journey that is never going to look like this, but it's going to be like this for almost all of us, to document it. And what I mean by that is to really take up a practice of journaling or recording voice notes or some way in which you are actually witnessing yourself in that journey and recording it through, because it can really be difficult to know head from tail in the 30s. We go through so much, and sometimes we won't have constant people in our lives to witness us in all those transitions. So really thinking about a practice like journaling or making videos or writing as some sort, as a way to document and to process and to articulate, however messy it may look. Articulation is not the goal, but to express maybe is the goal of what all you're going through. So I really greatly benefited from a practice called morning pages, which is just stream of consciousness writing first thing in the morning. There's so many different ways to journal, but really taking up a practice that allows us to bear witness to our own journey, um, more so than others are witnessing us.
One tip for women to thrive in their 30s. And when I reflect on this question, there's only one thing that comes to my mind, which is investing in yourself. Like I said earlier, self before others. And when you say self before others, it has to be active investment in self, which also is closely tied to the theme of International Women's Day this year, which is investing in women. And as women, it's important to invest in ourselves and other fellow women as well. But today, I would like to spotlight only us, because these are conversations that we do not have. And if we do, very quickly, the guilt and the shame consumes us. That how can we, and often it's equated with being selfish. And I would really like you to come into this conversation and retell these stories of self care, where investing in self is not being selfish. And when you say investing in self, there are different aspects to it. Investing in your strengths. You're good, you can be better at the same things. Not investing in things that you need to improve. That is the society's voice telling you. What you already are good at, you can excel in those areas. Investing in your well being, your physical health, emotional health, psychological health, and whatever it takes to take care of yourself. Going to the gym, taking a break, taking a sabbatical, saying no to those phone calls, saying no to those social commitments, not hosting a 5-course meal. Third, investing in relationships that energize you. We come across multiple people who make us believe in ourselves, remind us of our strengths, what we are capable of. And there would be some others, maybe coming from noble intention, constantly reminding us of things that we need to get better at, things where we are slacking, things we are not doing enough, things that the balls that are being dropped. There are enough and more of those voices. What we need to make louder are the voices that remind us of our capabilities, of the goodness in us, the abilities that we have. And that, please do not mistake me for being a superwoman. That's a myth. That's what drains us of the striving to be a superwoman. It's okay to not be a superwoman. It's okay to not show up for everything, as long as you're showing up for yourself. Investing in career choices and interests that brings joy, that gives you a sense of purpose, a sense of fulfillment, that rekindles that passion for life, for your career, the zest for learning, zest for growth. And it could be anything. It could even be traveling, sports, beauty, books, anything that rekindles that joy and that spark in your life. Investing in those.
One tip for women to thrive in their 30s, I would make it two. First, join a positive women's community where they are looking at how they can grow together. And my second tip would be, please get yourself a coach. I think in their 30s, women are too busy doing so many things, balancing work, balancing family, balancing their kids, that they often forget who they really are. And it helps to have a coach who will kind of keep reminding you that you are actually a superwoman and there is so much that you can do with your life. So these are my tips for the women in the 30s today.
One tip for women to thrive in their 30s. Well, uppermost on my mind is if you're 30, don't listen to your neighborhood auntie. Don't judge your life on the basis of her yardsticks. Don't do that. 30s is just the beginning of your life. Everything that you've learned before 30 is just like the foundation on which you're going to build your post 30 life. So, yeah, just believe in yourself.
One tip for women in the 30s is, I think, um, giving oneself time or investing time in becoming financially savvy is really game changing in us taking charge of our lives, how we want to live it. Um, and I think it just that learning of how to manage our own finances is really game changing in terms of the confidence it gives us, the clarity that it gives us. So that would be the one tip that I'd like to give to women in their 30s. Thank you. Thank you once again for this opportunity.
Wasn't that something very interesting? Make sure to take a few minutes to absorb everything that you've just heard and maybe pen down in the comments below what is one big takeaway that you had from today's episode. And also, should I be doing more of these? Let me know. Take care, and I hope you have a good time.